Hello and welcome to the Papyrus Global Television News Update. I am Christiana Babayo and here are our top headlines for the week. Iran threatens renewed attacks in Strait of Hormuz. US warns Iran over escalating Gulf tensions. IMF raises concerns over global inflation and energy prices. NASA's Artemis II mission continues lunar flyby success. Severe tornado outbreaks hit part of the US Midwest. UK economy faces bond market and unemployment pressure. Haiti humanitarian crisis worsen amid rising displacement. Japan approves large-scale bear hunting after attacks. World Snooker Championship opens in Sheffield. Global markets react to Middle East conflict fears and oil volatility. And now the news in details. Iran has threatened fresh attacks in the Strait of Hormuz, escalating tensions in the Gulf and raising fears over global oil supply disruptions. Iranian officials warned that any foreign military action or pressure could trigger a retaliation in the strategic waterway, which handles a major share of the world's oil shipments. The United States and its allies says they are closely monitoring the situation and remain committed to protecting international shipping routes. Analysts warn that continued instability in the region could push global energy prices even higher. The United States has warned Iran against further escalation in the Gulf region amid growing tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. officials say any threat to international shipping or regional security will face a strong response. The warning follows reports of increased military activity and concerns over disruptions to global oil supplies. Washington says diplomatic efforts are continuing, but insists freedom of navigation in the Gulf must be protected. Analysts warn that continued instability could drive up global energy prices and increase fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East. The International Monetary Fund has raised fresh concerns over rising global inflation and increasing energy prices, warning that ongoing geopolitical tensions could slow economic growth worldwide. The IMF says higher fuel and food costs are placing additional pressure on households, businesses and governments, especially in developing countries. The organization also warned that supply chain disruptions and instability in major oil-producing regions could worsen the situation in the coming months. Economists say central banks may be forced to maintain tighter monetary policies as global markets continue to react to uncertainty in the energy sector and broader international tensions. NASA says its Artemis II mission continues to make significant progress ahead of its planned lunar flyby, marking another major step in the agency's efforts to return humans to the moon. Officials say ongoing tests and system evaluations have recorded positive results as preparations intensify for the historic crewed mission. Artemis II is expected to carry astronauts around the moon and back to Earth, becoming the first human lunar mission since the Apollo era. NASA says the program will support future lunar landings and long-term space exploration, including planned missions to Mars in the coming years. Severe tornado outbreaks have struck part of the US Midwest, causing widespread destruction across several communities. Strong winds damaged homes, businesses and power lines, while emergency officials reported injuries and forced evacuations in some affected areas. Rescue teams and disaster response agencies have been deployed as authorities continue search and recovery operations. Weather experts say the storms were accompanied by heavy rainfall and dangerous thunderstorms, increasing the risk of flooding. Residents have been urged to remain alert as more severe weather conditions are forecast in parts of the region. Authorities are now assessing the full extent of the damage and losses. The United Kingdom economy is facing renewed pressure as rising unemployment concerns and instability in the bond market continue to affect investor confidence. Financial analysts say high inflation, weak economic growth and increasing government borrowing costs are creating uncertainty across key sectors. Recent market movements have also raised concerns about the country's long-term fiscal stability. Economists warn that households and businesses may continue to face higher living and operating costs in the coming months. The British government says it remains committed to policies aimed at stabilizing the economy, reducing inflation and supporting economic recovery despite growing financial challenges.
We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue.
Haiti's humanitarian crisis continues to worsen as escalating gang violence and political instability force thousands of people to flee their homes. Aid agencies say growing displacement has increased pressure on shelters, healthcare services, and food supplies across the country. Many families are struggling to access clean water, medical care, and basic necessities as insecurity spreads in several communities. International organizations are calling for urgent humanitarian assistance and stronger security measures to protect civilians. The United Nations warned that without immediate support, conditions could deteriorate further, leaving millions of Haitians vulnerable to hunger, disease, and continued violence in the troubled Caribbean nation. Japan has approved expanded bear hunting measures following a rise in deadly attacks in rural communities across the country. Authorities say increasing encounters between human and wild bears have become a growing public safety concern, especially in northern regions. The government says the new policy will allow faster response actions and large-scale hunting operations aimed at reducing threats to residents. Wildlife experts believe changing climate conditions and food shortages in forest areas may be driving bears closer to populated communities. While some conservation groups have raised concerns, officials insist the measures are necessary to protect lives and prevent further attacks. The World Snooker Championship has officially opened in Sheffield, England, marking the start of one of the sport's most prestigious tournaments. Top players from around the world are competing at the iconic Crucible Theatre, with fans eagerly anticipating high-quality matches and dramatic finishes. The championship, which runs over several days, will feature intense knockout rounds leading to the final showdown. Organizers say this year's event promises strong competition and high viewership. Snooker enthusiasts are looking forward to standout performances as players battle for the coveted title and a place in the sport's history books in this major global tournament event. Global financial markets are reacting cautiously to rising fears of conflict in the Middle East and continued volatility in global oil prices. Investors say uncertainty around the Strait of Hormuz and broader regional tensions has increased risk of sentiment, leading to fluctuations in stock indices and energy markets. Oil prices have remained unstable amid concerns over potential supply disruptions, while safe haven assets have seen increased demand. Analysts warn that prolonged instability could weigh on global economic growth and fuel inflationary measures. Market experts say traders are closely watching diplomatic developments and geopolitical signals that could further influence energy supply and financial stability worldwide. And that brings us to the end of today's news update. But before we go, a recap of our main headlines. Iran threatens renewed attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. US warns Iran over escalating Gulf tensions. IMF raises concerns over global inflation and energy prices. NASA's Artemis II mission continues lunar flyby success. For continuous coverage and breaking developments, stay connected with the Papyrus Global Television at papyrusdaily.com. I am your host, Christiana Babayo. Thanks for watching.